Good evening. I have 7 p.m. on Thursday, September 11th, 2025. And here in Historic Town Hall in Sandwich, Massachusetts, please be reminded, these proceedings are being televised and recorded by Sandwich Community Television. May we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And while we're standing, may I have a moment of silence, as this is 9/11. 24 years ago today, the World Trade Center was tragically bombed. And one moment, please. Thank you. And earlier today, the Sandwich Fire Department did a nice memorial as well. Yes, indeed, indeed. Okay. Anybody here for public comment? Okay. Review and approval of minutes. Let's do them
Separate.
individually, please. Yes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of August 7th, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of August 21st, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, and one abstention. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. George is the abstention. Okay, town manager report.
Really quick update. Our next meeting, we're going to determine later tonight on when to hold that. And then just a really quick one. Today, the bids were opened on the repairs and restoration to this building, the Historic Town Hall. So over the next, hopefully by next Thursday night, if that's when we hold a meeting, we'll have a recommendation for a bid award because the total cost is over $1 million. And that requires a vote of the board to make that award. And pleased to say that most of the bids came in under what we had appropriated, so that looks good. We need to go through and do the reference checking, but we'll have a lot more detail next week.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Dunham?
And one other thing I'd add is at some point, like, we'll do another wastewater update just because there's constant efforts going on. Same frustrations about our special act, same frustrations about trying to get definitive response from the state and the federal government. We did receive an email late last week that the leaders of DEP were going to go meet with some of the people at EPA to see if there was a clear answer that they could provide. And I think that meeting is supposed to happen next week. So I think there's hope that, I don't know, one way or the other, it'd be nice to get some clarity on that state revolving fund eligibility, because if we're not eligible, then that makes like how we have to proceed fairly, pretty obvious. But to sort of help guide us down a long path, Wright Pierce has been working on, lack of a better word, a playbook, like on all the things that need to happen, just so, whoever's in our seats down the road knows, like, these are the things we need to get done. And so it was really interesting spending time with them in person today to go through that in such detail. So once we have a little more clarity on that, we'll make sure that will be part of our next update. And I think a couple of things that jumped out at me, believe it or not, it's time for us to update our CWRMP. So that's one of the things that we talked about, is roughly how long would that take and what they would have to do. But the nice part is with the WIF funding, there's sufficient funds to proceed with that. And then also share this with you when the time is more appropriate, but we're also going to go ahead with that hydrogeologic study on the parcels that we acquired through the bankruptcy proceedings, because whether we use them in 3 years or 30 years or 60 years, you need that data and information. So that will start as well. So I just want to stress that it's not like we're not making progress, even though in terms of the really big picture stuff, we're still in a holding pattern. And then because they were there, they also gave us an update on the schools, which I thought you'd be interested in. So, the middle high school is still proceeding, and you'll recall that there were proprietary components of the treatment system that were on back order. So those are still on back order, but the order's been made. The other works that they can do is progressing. A couple things they're looking at to try to move some other things forward. So that's still on track, especially once that equipment gets here. And then the bids will be out next week for Oak Ridge and Forestdale, and that will be to disconnect basically the treatment systems from the treatment plants at both schools and move them to a regular Title V system. So that work, there's 180 days in the bid specs allotted for that work. The work can take place while school's in session. Really what will have to be a little bit of gap for is when they physically disconnect and then reconnect to the new piping that's been laid in. That still sounds relatively simple, and it might be able to be done over a short break, like a weekend or a week of school vacation. So, literally 6 months from now, we might, all three could be all resolved, which that is progress, because, we worried about what those costs would be many years ago to upgrade those systems. So that'll be interesting.
Okay, just a quick one. Right, Pierce, have their reps been consistent?
Yeah, 100%, with everything. Yep. And the same people have been working on it for years, which is great.
Great, yes it is. Anybody else for Mr. Dunham? Okay, correspondence, statements, announcements? I just have, yes, please.
Yeah, a couple of items. One is, Bud, and this isn't specific to the gazebo, but you're welcome to talk about the gazebo, but with the project that's happening on the Wing School property and its significant progress, what is the long-term outlook for the fields at the Wing School? Are those still being looked after by the schools? Is DPW taking that over? Is there a timeline?
Yeah, right now, they're still being looked after by the schools at their request. It wouldn't surprise us at some time if they want us to sort of take over responsibility, and I think we'd have to identify like what they've been budgeting for many years to do that, to try to.
Are the schools
maintain
actually
them.
taking care of them?
That they're supposed to be. Yeah, I don't know. I believe they are. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Do we, and this is another question too.
Yeah.
Where does the property line delineate for the housing project versus what I would call the bus loop?
Yeah. I'd have to look at, because we did have that map at town meeting.
Yeah.
I just don't remember
I'd have
off
to
the
go
top
back
of
and
my
look.
head.
I just thought of it right up, but the bus loop is in such tough
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah. I have to look at that.
So it's just kind of something I see as coming down the road, that property is going to deserve better attention as folks start to move into that property, which I don't know what the timeline for that is either, but I know that they're in the home stretch of phase one over there. So it's going to be, for next summer, I would expect there's people living in that building.
Mm-hmm.
May I presume that we may find that out on Tuesday morning?
I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, I think you would on phase one.
Okay, right.
Phase two is still pretty early.
Sure.
But an insane amount of work that I've
Yeah.
seen in the last couple of
Yeah.
weeks. The other item I just wanted to bring forward for the board's thought and consideration is, and I've talked to nobody else about this, and it's probably worth at least talking to Jeremy Cadron about it, but I think we should consider the appointment of the town band leader and town band members as appointed folks by this board, like we do with other committees and groups, just to recognize their efforts and volunteerism. I think that group has gotten a lot of attention this summer, They represent themselves as our town band, and I think they put a lot of time into it, and I think it's a small thing that would be very meaningful.
That's an interesting thought. What would the legal
Yeah, I think you
activities?
could just designate them as the official town band or something like that. I think that would be
Like
fine.
we designate the fence inspector.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to vote a new member each time they replace somebody, but each
go
year
on
you
the-
could do the list.
They would go on the slate in June
Yeah.
like everybody else.
Yeah,
They could just provide us with the list.
yeah.
and They would all get a certificate in the mail like everybody
Yep.
else. And we'd have, 25 more certificates to sign.
It's okay, but the leader
Mm-hmm.
would be the chair, for example?
I don't think it's a committee. It's just an appointment. You're appointed as a town band member. If they want to meet and be a committee, that's a different issue, but, they're not subject to open meeting law. They're not deliberating about anything. They're just a band.
Right. My only thought is that if we needed to contact someone, that we don't need to contact 35 people, that we contact one or two with an issue. Small,
I think you-
relatively small as presumably the issue would
I suggest
be.
you appoint a leader and members.
Pretty much running it.
Right?
And I would strongly recommend don't call them a committee, because then,
I agree.
Right.
yeah.
Bad word choice on my
But
part.
just like official town band or something, yeah.
They're just member, town band member.
Right.
I don't think we should get into the individual instruments. That could get complicated.
Gee.
We need an official pianist for tomorrow night.
Right. First chair, second.
Not a pianist, but,
Okay.
But maybe we could just put that, we collaborate with Jeremy and put that for a future item. And if it doesn't come up till the spring, that's fine. But I think it would be a meaningful thing. Those folks put a lot of time in.
Okay. Anybody else with any thoughts on that? And anybody else with any correspondence, statements, or announcements? I just have a couple, if you don't mind. School committee met on the August 27th and yesterday. A new administrative staff was introduced. Michael Ryan, the Director of Facilities, Kevin Bragioli, interim principal at Oak Ridge School, Vicky Daufinis, human resources specialist, Jennifer Healy, Director of Pupil Services. 3 are new employees. Congratulations to all. The committee approved the Sandwich Public School Strategic Action Plan for 2025 through 2030, and the committee also approved undertaking need assessment proposals. Progress. The Finance Committee met on the 2nd. Progress. Going forward, on Monday night, the 15th, Sandwich Cares is meeting in the Center for Active Living at 5:30 p.m. In honor of Recovery Month, Stephanie Barbosa of the Massachusetts Addiction Organization for Recovery will be making a related presentation. Also on Monday, Bikeways and Pedestrians is meeting at Sand Hill School at 6:30. And that's all I have. Anybody else? No. Okay, staff meeting. The Sandwich Select Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 11th, 2025, at 7:10 p.m. in Historic Town Hall Auditorium, 130 Main Street, Sandwich, Massachusetts, 02563, upon the petition of NStar Electric Company, doing business as Eversource Energy, to locate underground cables, conduits, and manholes, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures in, under, along, and across the following public way or ways: Manor Drive, install 40 feet or of 1 3 inches a conduit, and section 10006 040A1, Plan 218-35362. Anyone wishing to be heard will be afforded an opportunity at this time. Motion to open the public hearing, please.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Welcome, Ms. Longa.
Good evening, thank you for having me. So Eversource would like to install 40 feet of plus or minus of 1/3 conduit under Manor Drive, and that is to provide underground service for customer at 21 Manor Drive.
Any questions?
Is this, I know that was, we come into winter, is this cutting through the pavement or is this a mole shot under?
Under.
So no disturbing of,
You can't cut the pavement. So
And we have approval from
Yes.
our
Yeah, it's all
engineering
supported.
staff, right?
Yep.
Does anybody from the public have any questions for Ms. Longa? Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the Eversource request plan 21835362 to install 40 feet of conduit and electrical pole box on Manor Drive as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Longa. Okay. Old business, select board meeting schedule and potential meeting for next Thursday, September 18th. Any
So
comments?
in your packet is the plan meeting schedule, then I highlighted a couple of newer things in red, and if we could just talk about them quickly. And I know the special town meeting stuff we'll talk about in a minute. But there was an issue on the 25th about lack of availability from myself and Heather, so weren't sure if we could meet next week, if it fit people's schedules.
Sounds good to me.
And I have and I don't know what everybody's schedules are, but I'm trying to make my own schedules work. So if we could do the meeting that's scheduled for the 9th on the 2nd and the 23rd on the 30th, that would be great for me. We also could do the 23rd on the 16th, but that might be tighter for me, so.
Well, that's October, right?
October, yes.
Yeah.
I'll have someone fill in for us. I'm in Texas, and
Yeah.
Heather's out of the country. So, but I can,
When is
in the
that?
2nd, but I can get someone else to attend. But we can figure it out.
Everybody's comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm flexible.
So the meetings would be the 18th, the 2nd, and the 30th.
Second,
Is that right?
and the second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me say it this way. We have a town representative who would be willing to sit in your...
Find somebody.
I mean, if you want to hold the 9th, I could probably do it remotely, or I just might be tight or not here. So, just trying to juggle
Yeah.
airplanes.
That'd work. I presume you're comfortable with remote?
I've done it once or twice.
What do we want to do? We're gonna have a meeting on the 2nd then?
No, 9th.
2nd and the 9th? Okay.
No, the 9th and the 30th, right?
Yeah, the 23rd, I definitely can't be here. The other dates are just going to be tight. The 9th, the 16th would be tight.
All right, so you'll be out of town on the 23rd?
23rd, I'm definitely out.
Okay. And remote is not an option?
It could be an option on the 23rd.
In that case, just talking, we could stick with the schedule as presented. That being the
If you
case.
want to do that, that's fine. I'd prefer not to be remote for 2 meetings in a row if it works out that way. That's the only thing I'd say. So if we move the 23rd to the 30th, that would be more attractive to me, but it's not all about me,
That's,
which is, I hate to say it.
that's a viable option, right?
100%.
Okay. Okay, let,
9 and 30?
okay, do we have a consensus for the 9th and the 30th?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Costumes.
23rd.
You have
Costume,
to
oh,
dress
yeah.
up as somebody else at the table.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I had to put a wig on.
Thanks, but no thanks.
All right.
Okay. Okay?
Town can buy the candy.
Okay.
Okay, we have a consensus? Okay, that's all we need, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, okay, thank you. And thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
Okay. Special town meeting.
Yeah, so I was asked just to put together, like, if the board considered a special town meeting, what potentially could be acted upon or needed. So, reached out to departments just to find out. So I thought I'd just walk through that list, just so you're aware, but I want to stress that everyone I spoke with said this is not imperative. So none of these are required. If a special was held later in the year, like i.e. later in the fiscal year or the annual, it wouldn't hurt anything. But just so the board's aware, the topics we came up with were the school did get more Chapter 70 money from the state, and so they would like to get that allotment. I know that's a policy decision of the select board, so that's something we should talk about. And then apparently there were some operating budget funds that got returned in the school from the school budget that were supposed to be meant on doing some building repairs. Those repairs weren't done, and the schools would really like to get them done rather than asking for more capital money next year. I stress this is operating funds, and so they would like to reappropriate roughly $75,000 of money they return to be able to be used for this fiscal year, specifically related to carpeting in classrooms.
Okay, these are capital items?
No, it was in the operating budget. Yep.
So do we carry that on recap? And
Eventually, if we don't reappropriate it, eventually it would be free cash. So hypothetically, like say you voted after the free cash was certified, it would just be appropriating from free cash.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, yep. And then Leanne Drake, and our community development director, and Steve Tucker, the town planner. So they've been working on a couple things. So one was the short-term rental town bylaw that, remember, we did at town meeting. That we really should adopt that. And then she's also been working on some amendments to the sign bylaw, which is, for lack of a better word, a very delicate thing between what's allowed by law, what isn't. Has really spent a lot of time as a group trying to, what's the best way to move forward. Obviously, if this was going to go forward, you would get presentations to hear what's been contemplated. And then 4 zoning bylaws that if the board said, yeah, we're going to have a special in mid-November, there would be sufficient time, because they've done sufficient work, to go through the required timeframes with the planning board. So if you said tonight we're going to have a special, they would be able to get it done in time. And so those were again, 2 town bylaw amendments and then 4 zoning amendments. And then the board had supported about a month ago, accepting the provisions of some of the general laws related to your having the authority to consider safety zone designations. And then I just put a couple of petition things because you never know if anything will be submitted. So again, everyone I spoke with said these would like to do, not must do. No decision really has to be made tonight. Probably the only deadline we would need is if you did want to have a special, we should let the planning board, start its required process in terms of public hearings and all that in advance.
Yeah, if it's all stuff that we're gonna end up ultimately doing anyway, why not get to work on it? And keep from having a dozen or so articles on the annual.
And the short-term rental, if that goes.
Yeah, that's
So the short-term rental, if we vote that in the special in the fall, would that then be in effect for the following summer for the short-term rental?
I think so. That inspection requirement was already in effect, although every town's rolled out sort of like a soft inspection the first year like we did. But yes. If you want to have a special, and I put a couple of monthly calendars. The day that makes the most sense to me is the Monday between Veterans Day and Thanksgiving, which is the 17th, I believe. If you want to go ahead.
Why not?
Yeah, it makes the act schedule shorter of the spring. I think works in the public's favor, I think. I have a question, though, on Article 9. That's the speed limit?
It's just, you couldn't even consider a safety zone unless you had the authority to consider it, and you had to accept the provisions of, I'm just quoting, like Mass General Law, Chapter 90, 18B. So it doesn't mean you have to do it. It would give you the ability to consider it.
So this covers, if you will, the discussion that we had related to Town Neck, for example?
Yeah. And I know representatives of that group met recently with DPW and engineering, and a lot of work's been done in the short term, looking at several of the intersections that they mentioned and like sort of the overgrowth for the most part that has happened from people's yards into the sort of the sight distance. So 70 intersections have been identified that we need to trim back.
Yeah, I did
So
the
we're going to
work
work. We're going to work with them to let those people know. But if they don't do it on their own, we're going to do it.
Right.
But there's a lot of work has taken place, and I did notice there's a temporary speed limit sign there with that shows how fast you're going.
Right.
Was installed. That's portable.
Which location is that, Bud?
If you go Town Neck Road,
Okay, yeah.
probably
But these are Town Neck.
quarter mile down on the right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
I was talking with some of those folks the other day, and one of the other things they mentioned was Chapter 90, Section 17C. I don't know if we've looked at that at all, but 17C actually would allow us to allocate a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit in thickly settled areas at our designation. And if that requires the same type of enablement at town meeting, it might be something we want to consider as a separate article.
We've
Accept those acts?
yeah, I think
Or maybe it's a
clerk's
blanket
office.
item.
That's what I was wondering. Have they already accepted it? I don't know. I'll look tomorrow.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to add that, we could.
Because the
It would be
standard
a-
thickly settled is 30.
Yeah, I think it would be a good
So it drops
tool
you
to
back.
have. I think the residents would like it. The effectiveness and widespread use are things that areas of concern, but it could be a tool that we could try to use and see how effective it is.
So I'm getting the sense there'd be a preference to go ahead with a special. So why don't I talk more with Leanne? So if we're meeting next week, before we take a formal vote, let me just find out a little bit more if that timing works and all that.
That was my next question.
I will say, like, I think on the 2 school items like that, those are policy decisions, so you should at least talk to them about it, but not saying they're not good or bad, but, you know, we used to have a policy that whatever the Chapter 70 was, up or down, we lived with. In the last couple of years, because we felt there was a real need for capital items, we appropriated it. The second one's a little bit unique because generally we don't, like, there's a lot of departments return a lot more money than what the school returns, and the only time I remember ever doing it was on the 130 Quaker Meeting House Road intersection when we had the contract, but then the contractor said they couldn't do the work, so we had to delay it. So we did return some DPW money that we reappropriated, but that, I think in 20 years, that's the only time we've done that.
And the schools are replacing ancient carpet,
I believe so.
and I'm going to ask a crazy question. Maybe nobody here knows the answer, but are they replacing ancient carpet with carpet or with tile?
I don't know.
Yeah. So hopefully they're not replacing it with carpet, in my opinion.
I thought that,
I don't believe so.
yeah, I thought
No,
that they
no.
were doing either a vinyl plank or a
Right.
something, but I don't think it
Some
was
type of
resistant
Flooring.
CT option
Yeah.
would make the most sense.
long-term,
Yes. Long-term sterile.
vomit resistant.
Buffable.
Right.
If anyone thinks of any other articles, let me know, but
It looks like vinyl, but let's confirm that. Okay?
It would be good to know.
I should say in your packet is the summary from Leanne of the 2 bylaws, general bylaws and the 4 zoning. It goes into a little more detail if you're interested in what they're about. It's
Yeah.
a good summary.
Okay. Because the description specific to Oak Ridge added luxury vinyl tile, 7
Luxury?
classrooms. That's what it says.
I know that's what it's
I'm just reading what
Just
what
kidding,
it
just
says,
kidding.
Mr. Sampson.
That is what it's called.
LVT.
LVT, yes.
Okay.
Sounds
7
more-
classrooms in Oak Ridge, replacing 35-year-old carpet. Now, it doesn't specifically say that for Forestdale, but I'm presuming, if I may, and we'll confirm that, that's what was done in Forestdale as well. Okay, so we'll confirm the, next week. Okay, moving on to other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chairman. I have none. Does anybody have any comments on that? Okay. New business. Recommended appointment. Cultural Council. Catherine Piskukis as full member. September 11th, 25 to 6/30/28. There's information in the packet and a request from Ms. Gordon. Anybody have any comments or concerns?
Move to appoint Catherine Piscusis to the Sandwich Cultural Council.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sampson. I'm sorry, and the second was Mr. Hockner. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay. Congratulations, Catherine. Upper Cape Transfer Station Intermunicipal Agreement. Now, we're going to discuss
Yes.
this next week.
So next Thursday, Paul Tilton's coming in to talk about the Otis Board of Managers, which is the regional transfer station out at the base. And I thought in preparation, there's an email chain in your packet. It'd be really good if you just read it to get a feel for what you'll hear next week. And I think of special interest is some of the input from the Falmouth Town Council, which is their in-house attorney, Maura O'Keefe, and you'll see the back and forth with the Board of Managers. And I think Paul will be able to explain pretty easily why it's important. But the timing on the there is some timing issues that it's supposed to a decision made by the end of this December. So we thought it would be good just to update the board, and if you're comfortable, vote. I'm paraphrasing what Paul and I have talked about several times, but I think the Board of Managers feels it's important for them to retain control of the facility, working with the base, rather than having it go to private hands or have something else happen, because the whole, solid waste issues, and I know the county has spent a lot of time working on the composting organic recyclables at that location. There's a lot of work that's gone on that would give options down the road. And then Paul's also going to talk to you. Sean Harrington's going to come in with him. And although don't really need a cemetery commissioner vote, he'd just like to update you on the whole concept of columbariums at the town cemetery on 130. They've done a lot more work on that, and just want to share some thoughts on that, just moving forward.
But on the transfer station at the base, I know that Bourne opted out, and I know that there's, because we share the fees with the other towns. In the event that the Bourne facility then transfers to the closed facility, and they want to get back into this agreement, is there a financial?
I think there's
Right.
some penalty provisions on capital items, but I'll be honest, I don't think we've gotten a capital assessment for quite a while because it's been paid off.
Right.
And we used to have a line item in the transfer station budget for our share of the costs out there, and those have sort of gone away because we haul directly to CMAS from our own transfer station. Falmouth is the lead town. It includes Mashpee, Sandwich, Falmouth, and then the base has an active role as well, but they typically participate but don't vote because they're sort of the tenants.
We have no debt,
No debt.
because now we only pay the O&M.
There've been a couple of fires out there from the construction debris and other things that Cavosa has been doing, but it sort of hasn't been we haven't had any costs associated with that.
That's a good thing.
It's a good ace in the hole for us to have that,
Yeah.
though, because it could help us if we ever had something like a hurricane or something that prohibited us from using our transfer stations in the normal mode that we do.
I think
That's when a rail station would be really helpful. An additional, yep.
I think we've talked before. Remember when we were sending those letters of support and different thoughts about the two bridges? There is a concept, because that is a rail connection to the base. I think the base commanders seem more open-minded than ever, that as long as there was some railhead that made it to base property, they really don't care where it is. And so there was some talk when the Bourne Bridge gets done, and I know that's the second priority, if they relocated the rail lines to I don't know if it would be, I guess, the east side of MacArthur Boulevard, that potentially a rail could go along down that way, and then deadhead at the Bourne transfer station, and there is base property literally immediately adjacent. They could extend it a little bit, and I've heard some of the base commanders say if that would be a realistic replacement, we should all consider, but until such time, we want to keep that what's there now.
Yeah, and they want to keep their flexibility in running the base, to be able to supply the base by rail if it's needed any time of war or
Yeah.
crisis. So I understand that.
There's also a chance on your meeting next week that trying to work out a time where Jim Killian wants to come in and just get some feedback from the board on behalf of some county assembly issues. So that might be next week or the week after, or the meeting after.
Just on the rail trail for a second, on the rail path for a second. That would still be active though, right? Both,
Yes, yeah, they would want well, I don't know, like if a new railhead went into the Bourne transfer station and extended onto the base there, my guess is then they could consider ripping up the old and then do that rail to trail.
or paving over. it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's where my
Was
head
it-
was going,
Yeah,
thank
to
you.
connect with the Shining Sea.
Yep, yep. Okay. Thank you. And we'll, more about this next week?
Yes.
Okay. Other matters not reasonably anticipated, other chair, I have none. Yes, yes, Bob.
Should have brought it up before, but I didn't. How are we coming on the intersection Chase Road and the Service Road?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff has been cut back. I know DPW is going out there again. Both the police and DPW feel strongly like the only sight distance that's really poor is if you're going east on Service Road and looking right.
Can't see it in that corner.
The problem is, because I've checked it out, like there's a
Big hump.
utility things, there's a telephone pole, there's private property right next door, and this came up at a staff meeting we had earlier this week. I didn't realize this, there's underground utilities there. So the natural gas pipeline goes there, which I think they just upgraded to high pressure. It will not be easy to take down that hill. So we, there's some things that they're already working on, that they have plans to make the signage better. I'm not sure on that obstructed view on that area what we'll be able to do, but they're going to look at that. It's not going to happen overnight. Almost all the other ways you look, it's a lot better. Yeah, it's better than it used to be. Yeah, yep. But they're looking at signage like, sort of, dangerous intersection warning further back on both sides of the service road, things like that.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
'Cause I go through there, it's not about me, but I go through there every day. and
Yeah.
See the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to circle back to my wing school property comments, but I did take a look, and that bus loop is still our property.
Yeah.
And if you've driven back there at all recently, it is, you could lose a car inside that bus loop, never to be seen again. So this is like one of those things I see as like we carved off portion of the property and then we just forget about stuff and it just sits there. So I don't know what happens with that bus loop. It doesn't necessarily need to be a bus loop, but maybe the parking lot up there gets expanded and there's more parking down there. I don't know. But something, I think it deserves some thought. It definitely deserves some type of improvement. What that looks like, I'm not sure. But it's been like that for a very extended period of time. And I really think we need to be forward thinking about what happens with that property so that it doesn't get neglected over time.
I agree.
Because if we took it over, we could reactivate this, the well that's there, that we drove as part of the construction of Oak Ridge and Forestdale. We put wells at all three schools. And now the field is shredded wheat, and yet it has an irrigation system. So those are issues that we would tackle that the school did not.
All right.
But we also don't, to Dave's point, we don't want a DMZ to form between. Just leaving it at that. I mean, it's gotta, we need to come up with a way for them to,
I'm trying to remember, good luck with that. Now, we still have access to the site plan, right?
Yes, I'm sure, yeah.
Can we take another look at that and see what is
Yeah.
supposed to be happening, maybe?
I guess the hard part is like if we take it back over, like, because we calculated this, because I'm just being blunt, we knew it would happen. You know, there was significant funding in the school budget highlighted every year for what was being spent at the wing school. And when they relocated the other schools, like we knew eventually someone would toss us the keys. So we have that all broken out back then, over 10 years ago, and it was $120,000. I won't forget it. And there were personnel as well that got moved. You know, so I know we would be open-minded on the town side to take responsibility for whatever we needed to. We just need to, you know, you can't take responsibility for something you never had control over without the resources that were being spent on it. And maybe by now, nothing's being spent on it, you know, because it got shifted to other
What's
places.
allocated and what's being spent are
Yeah.
two different things.
Yeah.
And, you know, however that bus loop thing works out, I think
Yeah.
parking, more parking is certainly something that would be used. I haven't really seen any action down there. Doesn't mean there is none, but I haven't seen any.
I guess the other thing that this leads into is that, you know, part of the other conversation, I guess, is, you know, with the septic systems being redone at all three schools, and yeah, I think that we're gonna retain maintenance of those systems moving forward. Yeah, I think that, you know, perhaps this is the time to have a larger conversation about, you know, whether or not the town starts to do the exterior of all the schools, you know, as part of a overall process, you know, the buildings and grounds, you know, maintenance, not the inside of the buildings themselves, but everything outside of that, whether that, you know, then transitions into a, you know, call it a building, you know, a grounds maintenance division inside the town where we have like a turf manager, or they team up with the golf course, because we have, you know, we have the knowledge, you know, how to do this, but the, you know, really, yeah, I mean, those, you think about those fields and the school fields that, you know, the condition that they're in. Yeah, I went up to the school this year, and that was the number one thing that the kids were discussing was, you know, the condition of the athletic fields, and that, you know, a significant portion of the taxpayers see all these, you know, they see the wing school field at the, you know, the parade and 4th of July, and all the parents go to the schools and see the condition of the, you know, the field, and that, yeah, I think that it's something that needs to be addressed.
Well, I mean, to your point, and this just would complicate the issue further, but some of the groups that lease or rent or whatever they do those fields for their private sports groups, they're like, we're paying significant amount of money for these fields, and they're really, the money's not being invested back in the fields. The fields are all junk.
Right.
So we've gone to Mashpee and those types of things, right? So if we're gonna, if that was considered as an option, that revenue would need to fund that stuff, and I would guess that revenue is being used for other things, and this isn't a pick on the school committee night, but, you know, this stuff needs and deserves attention.
It's an asset of the
does.
town. Right. It's a significant asset.
Well, it is unless it deteriorates and turns
Correct.
into junk.
Right.
Okay.
I would just stress, because like under state law, unless the school committee's willing to entertain it,
They can,
it goes nowhere. So
yeah.
we should probably have a discussion to see, is that something they would be interested in?
Yeah.
So in that agreement, did they retain care, custody, and control of the wing school fields?
Yeah, at the time they, you know, they wanted to because they still did intramurals and other things
Yeah.
there. I don't know if that's changed since then.
Yeah.
If they're not performing though on doing it, I can't imagine they would fight to keep it unless they
I don't-
keep the
yeah, I don't think
funding,
so.
in which case we have options.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good subject for us to dive into. I've wanted to tackle this for a long time. As, you know, to Shane's point, people deserve better.
Further discussion is warranted, yes. Okay.
Good.
All good? Anybody for public comment? Closing remarks. Well, please continue to maintain the situation in Eastern Europe and the conditions in the Middle East as overall threats to world peace, as well as those who have suffered here at home, in your thoughts and prayers. Executive session under Massachusetts General Law, C 30A, subsection 21A, the chair declares that having an open session may have a detrimental effect upon the town's bargaining, litigating, or negotiating position as applicable. Purpose 3, a contract and negotiations with non-union personnel, town manager. Oh. May I have a motion to adjourn the public session? We will have a next meeting on Thursday, September 18th, here in Town Hall at 7 p.m. and into executive session.
Move that the board enter executive session in compliance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A. The chair declares that having an open session may have a detrimental effect upon the town's bargaining, litigating, or negotiating position as applicable for purpose number 3, contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town manager, and not return to public session.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sampson, second by Mr. Hockner, was that? Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a roll call vote.
Charlie, you
Aye.
roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. See you next week.